Quitting Juul has been undoubtedly one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life. Now, I've been off Juul for like 2 years now, and I must admit that even till this day, I still get like the craving. So it's kind of interesting that it's like a constant war that kind of never ends. Obviously, it gets easier. Anyways, how I managed to remove it from my life completely, how I managed to unslave myself. I wasn't through all this technical stuff like removing cues and stop drinking and stop going out. What worked for me, as stupid as it may sound, how I managed to not hit it every day was really to focus on not hitting it today. What's up, guys? My name is Porfirio Chacho, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about a small mindset shift that allowed me to overcome my Juul addiction. It's even helped improve my strength training sessions, and I'm honestly convinced you could apply it to just remove whatever negative habit you're dealing with. Please feel free to not listen to a word I say. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I'm honestly just here to speak my mind, speak about things I've learned and understood them with the hope that you guys can relate. So the hardest part about quitting is not the craving per se. It's not like you're in a social situation, your friends are juuling, and then you just can't resist the craving and you just succumb and grab someone's Juul and hit it. It's more like you get the craving, right? You get that insatiable urge, and then you start creating futuristic scenarios of how will you be able to cope with that same amount of effort that you're applying in real time. And then you just think to yourself, how will I be able to keep this up? How will I be able to do this for the rest of my life? And when you have this thought, it's when shit goes wrong. This is a thought that makes most people fail. It's just contemplating and interpreting it as unsustainable, and so you suddenly kind of see it as pointless, as worthless. You lose faith in yourself, and you just fuck it, give me the Juul. But see, the amazing thing about this is that this is our mind playing a trick on us. Whenever we anticipate, whenever we create and plan those futuristic scenarios, we are literally creating an unfair fight, an unrealistic fight. It's like your mind is taking all the present suffering, all that urge resistance that you're applying, and on top of that, it's combining all of the futuristic effort and scenario that you will undergo and pitting all of that against only you right now. But see, by having this thought, you fell for the trick. It's not a 10,000 v 1 scenario. It's not the next 10,000 days versus your present self. A more accurate representation, the truth, is that it's the next 10,000 days versus the next 10,000 yous. It's happening through independent 1v1 scenarios. Your mind's a bitch. He wants you to think it's an unfair fight. He wants you to think it's a 10,000 v 1 scenario. You're not tomorrow's self. He'll be able to cope with the present as you're doing right now. Looking back, it's amazing how much unnecessary angst and suffering I went through by just creating all of these futuristic scenarios where I just had to it's like I didn't trust my future self, so I had to plan how I would act under different scenarios, and I would think to myself, how will I manage when I go to my friend's house this Friday, and fuck, will poker be the same? And shit, what about the beach? Will the beach be the same without a Juul? This was literally like 4 weeks in. I didn't even have cravings at this point, but my mind just fixated on how I would act under futuristic scenarios and how I would do this and how I would do that. Every day that passed was another day that I wasn't hitting it, so I just had to continue doing what I've been doing for the last month or so. I just had to concentrate on today. And I know for a fact that I cannot do it today if I don't want to. I can resist today. So I don't need those answers, bro. Fuck tomorrow. Your future self will be able to cope. He's fine. He's a big boy. Bro, if you stress about the future, you're literally telling your future self that he is incapable of making good decisions. Think about it. I mean, you're literally disrespecting him. You're planning for him. You're thinking for him. Do you not think that he'll be able to manage within real life situations? I mean, he's the future version of you. He'll be fine. Don't worry. So I use an application that tracks my workout. So every time that I go to the gym, I literally open it and see what I did the week previous. And as I sit there and contemplate it, 235 pounds times 5 reps, that same flawed thought pops into my mind. It just comes uninvited. How will I be able to put this amount of effort every day? How will I be able to sustain this? I mean, I can probably do 235 times 6, 235 times 7 today, but how will I be able to do this when I'm in the 250s and the 260s? Fuck that thought. I don't need to know. The only thing on my mind should be focusing on how I will beat the present. Because again, it's like our minds can only perceive the future suffering, and they fail to account for the fact that it's not all the future effort versus me right now. It's all the future effort pitted not against me, but against all the future me's. And fuck, I'd be afraid of my future me, because he'll be stronger and wiser than I could ever be right now. I've even known what it's like to half-ass a workout because I'm preoccupied that my future self won't be able to keep up. How fucked up is this? I've intentionally put less effort in a workout because I'm worried that my future self won't be able to top it. Don't worry about him. He's a big kid. He just has to beat the present. Same thing as you're doing right now. I remember this interesting Will Smith analogy where he basically explains how as a kid, he was tasked with building this huge wall, and he couldn't perceive how the hell they will be able to construct this massive wall. And so he just eternally complained to his dad, and his dad just looked at him and said, well, Will, do you know how to lay a brick? And Will's like, sure, I can lay a brick. And day by day, Will just focused on laying another brick. And some days he felt overwhelmed because he fixated on the future. He's like, oh, I can't see this wall coming to life. But then he quickly reminded himself, let me just lay another brick. In his biography, he mentions how one of the most important days of his life was when he laid that last brick, like 4 years after the fact. And the lesson here is that you don't need to know all the answers. You don't need to fixate on the future as long as you know what the next step is. There are some days that I wake up and I look at my bed and I'm like, do I really need to do this for the rest of my life? And when I realize that I'm about to fall for the fucking trick again, I quickly correct myself. No, I just have to focus on doing it today. Because tomorrow I'll be a brand new person with resetted energy. So basically this whole video has been my lousy attempt at trying to tell you that you only need to focus on beating the present, on beating today. Because unfortunately your mind loves to see you fail for some reason. He loves to present things to you in such a way that makes it seem so difficult. Thank you so much for making it this far in the video. Please click the like button if you enjoyed it. And remember to subscribe if you haven't so that you always stay up to date with my future uploads. That being said, I love you guys. Peace!